Hello everyone and welcome to BFW 2401. This is the explanatory video for the last test in this semester, which is test 4. Now, the reason I am recording this one, because as usual, I record explanatory video for each test, but this one maybe I want you to take care of what I am saying, simply because it is the fourth test and it covers week 9, 10, and 11, so many issues to take care of. And also in this week, we are taking the tutorial. And this is why I have uploaded for you the recorded tutorial, the solution for the tutorial, and also the workshop and its recording. So I want you to be very comfortable with those items I uploaded for you. I also uploaded for you the old test 1 and test 2, and some also problems about market risk. I want you to look at all of those carefully and be comfortable with them. Actually, if you look at the old test, I think the problems are similar, not very similar, but the concept still the same. I think 2 or 3 problems may be the same. So I want you to be comfortable with those issues. The other thing is, I want you to be, when we come to the capital adequacy problems, I want you to be fast in doing them. So you understand the concept, you do it once and twice, and I think the practice and the workshop, the practice and the all test, the practice and the tutorial is enough for you to be fast in doing those calculations and understanding the concept. Now, let me share my screen and my document here. This is what I'm going to do. So this is actually, as you can see, the 8 question is going to go to the market risk, 7 for the OPS derivatives, and 10 for the week 11, which is the capital adequacy. This is the materials, but of course, as I told you, I want you to look at this also, which is all test 1 and the test 2. Look at the other issues. Of course, the tutorials, you have to look at them, and also the workshops. I have uploaded for you all the workshops solutions. Now, let me go over those. I am not sure whether I am interested in those issues. Of course, this one you will not see at all. This one you are not going to see. But this one, I'm okay, but I'm not sure you should be very worried about it. You have to be aware of the concepts of the market risk and the problem, as I told you there. Look at all both tests and also look at the tutorial and the workshop, and also the I think I uploaded for you some multiple choice questions in this tutorial, in tutorial 9. The multiple choice questions, the answers at the end. The answers at the end, if you can see them. This is the, you have to be aware of to calculate the fixed income, and you have to understand that how we calculate the DIR. So the DIR for the fixed income is the modified durations times the price volatility. And then you have to multiply it by the position to find the DIR. You do the same thing for the equities and also for the equity for foreign exchange and equities. So you have to multiply always the position times the price volatility. Now, all of this is actually, we come to something called the risk matrix. And the risk matrix is that, matrix which we had, I think, in tutorial number 9, where we can calculate the correlation, and also we have to have a matrix. And then in the matrix, we calculate the DIR for all the items. and we have to include the correlations. Now, the question is, correlation is important because those risks are overlapping, but the question is, what if there is no correlation? There is no correlation, zero correlation, which means every risk is independent and it's there. So you just add them up. Actually, you add them up. So you add all those, deers up, and you find the matrix. You find the what we call the aggregate matrix or the aggregate deer for those ones. I think this is all about market risk. I don't think, but I want you also to look at the old problems. I want you to look at the old, look at the tests and look at the old tests and look at the tutorial and the workshop and be comfortable on this. Now, in week 10, we talked about OPS and derivatives. And when we talked about, the first thing we started to talk about is the market related and non-market related. When we talked about contingent liabilities like credit substitutes or performance substitutes, that was contingent liabilities. And then also we talked about the commitments, and specifically we talked about the loan commitment. And in that loan commitment, we did some calculations of the upfront fee and the back-end fees, and we discussed that in the tutorial specifically, and also we discussed it in the workshop. So the end, what we call the back-end fees, is actually related to the amount of the commitment that was not withdrawn. So when you have a loan commitment, you have upfront fee for the whole amount, and for that time, for that part which is not withdrawn by the customer, which we call it the drawdown, if the drawdown is not complete, that part was not withdrawn, or there was no drawdown for it, that will is the part that will have to count for back-end fees. So you have to be careful about loan commitment and also back-end fees and upfront fees and how we calculate those ones. As I told you, we talked about direct credit substitute, performance traded, and you have to, there is no calculation in those. We have so many diagrams, as you can see in the slides, but I'm not going to test you in those diagrams. I just want you to understand actually the type of those financial products and under the direct credit substitute and performance and trade related contingencies. I think here I just talked about loan commitment, loan reserve, and letter of credit. For example, letter of credit, is it a non-market related or market related? So when we have non-market related, we have, as I told you, all of those, including the commitment. But then I think we have a problem when we have a guarantee from the bank. For example, and in the papers, when we endorse it, when we endorse a paper, and this is the two problems we discussed in tutorial number 9. When we are going to have a paper that will be endorsed by the bank, the bank is issuing some type of bonds or having a debt, or a customer have a debt to another party in the market, and the market and the customer will give him two options. One option is either to get me the paper endorsed, which is the commitment to pay me, and in this case, I will charge you a fee for that. The bank will charge a fee, or you don't endorse it, and the lender in the market may request a higher return. So in this case, you have to to play that comparison between if I, for example, if the customer is giving, 95%, if he's charging 5% for endorsed, and then 10% for not endorsed, non-endorsed. And then the bank charge 2% fees if he endorses it. This is bank fees. As you can see now, you want to, if you have the option, actually you will endorse it because issuing that paper will cost you, you will endorse it because you will have to have 5%. This is your cost plus the 2% fees. So this is 7%. If you don't endorse, your fees will be how much? Will be 10%. So better to endorse it in this case. So the other option is, which is this one, is less than the 10% if you not endorse. So this is, I think, about it. Now the derivatives, we have those type of derivatives. We have forward contract. And this is the only calculations for the forward contracts. We have speculation, hedging, and trading. And you have to be, I think those problems for speculations and hedging are brought in test 1 and test 2. I think there is one problem in the test about this one. So this one, I think there is one problem about the trading, but it's not calculation. It's just, it's not calculation. It's just understanding the idea. Because when you do trading, if you balance your positions in the right and as a buyer and seller, you can always earn. You can always earn only if you balance your exposures as a buyer and seller, which means you sign a contract for 10 million as a seller, you sign a contract for as a buyer for 10 for the same 10 million. However, the difference in the fees between the buying and selling is different. There is what we call a margin between the two, which is a spread. That spread is when you make the profit. And this is the only condition where you can earn in the trading. You have to have a balance between the buyer as a buyer and seller, which is the same exposure as buying as a buyer or a seller. Now, speculation and hedging is the same calculations as we talked before. And as I told you, either this problem or this is in the workshop. This is the only calculation in the derivative parts. Now, the derivative parts, you have to understand they are market related, which means this derivatives moves, the value of those derivatives moves when the interest rate moves in the market, moves in the exchange rate moves, or the equity prices moves. But for the non-market related, like the guarantees, the contingency, all of those ones, actually, they don't be impacted. They are not impacted. This one's all not impacted by the movements of the interest rate in the market. Okay, the value is still the same. Now we talk about futures, and please, if there is a question about the futures, I think I discuss it in the tests and also in the workshops. So how the futures are actually different from the forward contracts. One of them is standardized and guaranteed by the commissions, while this one is actually OTC or in the counter between two private parties. This one always solved by the exchange, by organized exchange, which means by the Security Commission, and they guarantee. So actually there is no credit risk about it. Now the options, we talks about the caps and the floor. Please, there is one slide and this in the slides, not in the tutorial. We didn't discuss it in the tutorial. We discussed it in the slides. In the options, when we want to protect ourselves from the changes in the interest rate as a borrower or a lender, we have something called cap and floor. Now you have to understand what does the cap means, which means if you are a borrower, then you need to have an option with a cap, which means if the interest rate, you can pay up to 6%. If the interest rate goes over 6% or 7% or 8%, then somebody will pay you over that cap, which is the 6%. Now, if you are a lender and you want your return from your investment to be fixed, at least you need to have a minimum amount of return. So you say, okay, I need the minimum to be 4%. Then in this case, if the interest rate in the market goes under the 4%, the option will pay you. So in this case, an investor will buy a floor. So you have to understand the difference between the caps and the floor. I don't think I discussed the swaps in terms of the concepts in the tutorial, and it's okay. Now week 11, it's okay in terms of, I don't think there is a problem, but it's an easy issue. Week 11, we talked about capital adequacy. Now, capital adequacy, please, I want you to be aware when you come to the exam, because most of the problems are coming week 11, which is 10 problems. So when you come in the test, you have to be first aware how to use those tables, table 1 to table 5. And how can you do that? You can do that only if you exercise the workshop problem, the case problem, the tutorial problems, and the old test. You will need to use those tables. Also in the exam, you will need to use those tables and understand, because sometimes I will ask you to calculate the risk-weighted assets. Sometimes I will ask you to calculate the, the capital requirement, the total capital requirements for a bank when I give you all those information. So in this information, I will give you information, and then in this information, you have to calculate the risk-weighted assets. And the risk-weighted assets, they are credit risk, on balance sheet and off balance sheet. They are market risk. There is also what we call operational risk, and some other risks. So some of the risk I will give you as capital charge, and you need to convert that capital charge to risk-weighted assets. And if you want to do that, you have to multiply by 9.52. Please look at the case and see it. Look at the tutorial and understanding those tables and how you do it and how you convert an asset to risk-weighted asset is based on those tables and your understanding how to use them. And they have explained it well in the tutorial, explained it well in the workshop. Without that, you cannot do the problems. Of course, some of the problems are just, are just theory problems. Now, please also understand that there is difference between what we call risk-weighted assets and the simple ratio. What is the simple ratio? Simple ratio is just equity, as you know, over total assets. This is how we know it. We call it leverage ratio or simple ratio or whatever. Now, risk-weighted assets, we change this to be regulatory capital, which is no problem. Regulatory capital, which is tier 1, common equity tier 1 or tier 1, because common equity tier 1 is part of tier one. So we have common equity tier one, and then we have the rest of tier one, and we call all of this tier one. And then we have tier two, and tier one and tier two is actually the total capital. So when we talk about regulatory capital, we have regulatory capital. We are talking about how many capital? We are talking about three types of capitals, three capitals, three caps. Now the three caps is common equity tier one, and the total capital. Now, when we do this, we do the regulatory capital over the risk-weighted assets. Our problem with the standardized model, which we are using and this week, is to calculate this line. This usually is given to you. And we want this to be, as I told you, a tier one, common equity tier one. We want this to be at least over 7%. This we want it to be over 7%. And we want this to be, if it is tier one, as you know, we want it to be more than 8.5. And if it is the total cap, then the total capital, we want it to be over 10.5%. Now, some of the question will tell you what is the, for example, in total capital. I will ask you to calculate the risk-weighted assets, and I will tell you what is the total capital. Or I will tell you, I will give you so many items, and they tell you what is the risk-weighted assets. Then you come up with the risk-weighted assets. So the whole thing is about the risk-weighted assets. And this table is actually helping you to calculate the risk-weighted asset, whether from week 1 to week 5. Now, as I understand, you can use table 1 and table 2, which is this one, and table 5, this is for the conversion of the non-market related, with table 5 to calculate the risk-weighted assets for credit risk on balance sheet and off balance sheet. For the on balance sheet, we need to have the, I think we have explained this before, and you can look at it again, but this table, which is table 2 and 3, actually is used for the credit risk of balance sheet. And table 1 and table 5 is used for credit risk on balance sheet. So table 3 and table 2, 3, and 4, and also 5 is used for the off balance sheet, credit risk of balance sheet. So I want you to be aware of those issues. And as I told you, the only way to do that is to look very careful to, I think you have enough problems to look at them in the tutorial and also in the workshop and the old test. You shouldn't miss any mark. Maybe you will miss some marks, of course, you will miss some problems, depends on your preparation, and you're always, anybody can, but I think you can score. And this is why I'm trying to make so much guidelines here, and I wish you the best for that one. And if you have any question, please look at them, and we have 3-4 days. You can call me, you can email me, or ask for consultations, and we can do it. After the test, as I told you, will be from 2:15, from 1 to 2:15, because we have some students who are taking corporate finance. So they will come, they can catch up, and they can submit before 2:15. But when you log in the test, you have only 55 minutes. After that, we will do the, what we call the revision class for the final. And it is this Tuesday. I will see you then. Don't forget to attend the revision class. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.